Elon Musk recently expressed his opinion on the legitimacy of the moon landing, offering convincing evidence to support its authenticity. Additionally, our video will present compelling evidence that may challenge your current viewpoint on this controversial topic. Nevertheless, the most noteworthy segment of the video will be the presentation of undeniable proof that will ultimately resolve the dispute about the reality of the moon landing. Ever since the famous 1969 broadcast of NASA's visit to the moon, it has been an endless debate among many people. According to a 1999 poll, millions of Americans don't believe in it. It has become one of the most famous conspiracy theories in the world, rivaled perhaps by those who think there is more to Area 51 than the government is letting on. As Elon Musk said, you can have many doubts about a moon landing, until you realize the simple fact about how this mission was observed, and you will understand easily why it couldn't have been faked. But, as we will show you, there are fascinating details about the moon landing that show why people are convinced that the moon landing was faked, and what the other side has to say in rebuttal to these arguments. The central idea of the moon landing conspiracy theory is that the event was staged in a studio and never actually happened on the moon's surface. There is no clear consensus on the theory's origins, but those who support it believe that the moon landing was faked due to the escalating tensions between the US and Russia during the Cold War. This rivalry was sparked by the successful launch of Sputnik, the first artificial satellite, which initiated the space race that America was determined to win. The objective was not so much about space exploration as it was about demonstrating technological superiority and thus becoming the greater threat. The most widely accepted motivation among conspiracy theorists for the moon landing being a hoax is based on this reasoning. If America couldn't outdo Sputnik on their own, the logical thing to do would be to cheat. Although it is thought that the moon landing was in a studio somewhere, it is also debated amongst the moon hoax crowd where that studio might be, with theories on that ranging from a simple Hollywood set to Area 51 itself. First, it needs to be understood that most conspiracies, as well as conspiracy theorists, operate on the philosophy of not trusting any government agency. The fact that governments routinely lie is not going to be a revelation to many people, but people who believe in conspiracy theories just treat that fact with a bit more severity than most, and treat any piece of information that the government gives them with more skepticism than most as well. This is why, since all the footage of the event comes directly from NASA, conspiracy theorists consider that there is no real proof that the event even happened, if only the government said it did. Those who believe in the moon landing hoax theory often highlight what they consider to be inconsistencies in the visual evidence, and we will discuss most of them in this section. One of the main points they raise is that the photographs and footage lack stars in the background. Given that there is no atmosphere on the moon to obstruct starlight, there should be a greater number of stars visible than on Earth. Did someone in the studio forget to add them, or was it an oversight? Secondly, in one of the famous photographs, there appears to be a rock with the letter C written on it in the background, which has led skeptics to wonder if the prop rocks for the moon set might have been labeled alphabetically, with just one rock being turned the wrong way for the camera. Another argument made was the different lengths of the shadows, even when the astronauts are right next to one another. Conspiracy theorists think this may have been due to a faulty lighting system in the studio, which was felt to have been fixed after the photo was taken. One of the biggest arguments on this is how the American flag put on the moon seems to flap in the non-existent wind. How does a flag flap in an environment where there is no atmosphere? It has also been argued that the effect of weightlessness could very easily be replicated down here on Earth, with the use of slow motion and wire effects on the astronauts. There is also an argument that the moon dust behaves very strangely and that the footprints on the natural satellite surface are too well preserved. The final argument and the most daring piece of evidence for most is the simple question: who took the pictures? With there being 3 astronauts, 2 on the moon and 1 in the rocket, who took the pictures? Let's have a look at the argument on the other side. So, towards the beginning of this video, we pointed out that one of the foundations of the moon hoax theorist philosophy is that they don't trust government agencies, which is why they don't believe NASA's photos and footage, as well as any of the testimonies of the 400,000 people who worked for NASA at the time. However, one of the first things which can be used as a response to this argument is simply that whilst NASA produced the footage and photographs, their transmissions were caught live independently by people who didn't work for NASA in Australia, Spain, and England. The question then becomes that if America was attempting to fool Russia by taking photographs and video footage in a Hollywood studio somewhere, how could Australia, Spain, and England catch those transmissions? More importantly, if they didn't, why would they lie on America's behalf? There are also explanations behind the inconsistencies which are often pointed out by conspiracy theorists, which have been used as rebuttals to their arguments. Firstly, the explanation behind the fact that there are no stars in the photographs can be explained by photography. The light from the sun hitting the surface of the moon would be too bright for any camera to pick up the much smaller and weaker lights of the stars in the background. The same can be seen in cities when there are constantly lights from stores and lampposts washing out the smaller lights. The second point, the sea rock, is claimed to be a stray head during the developing process by scientists, or else a hoax by the doubters edited into the photograph by someone else who wanted to prove something. The lengths of the shadows are argued by scientists to have been caused by the craterous landscape of the moon, and that you would find the same effect on Earth if you took a picture of someone on a hilly landscape, where the shadows would be of different lengths. As for the flags, it has been said by NASA that they designed a special flag to be able to stand impressively on its own, rather than hanging limp like a regular flag would, which wouldn't look nearly as good. They managed to achieve it by running a tight wire through the top of the flag, and the astronauts themselves caused the flapping effect by stabbing the flagpole into the ground, trying to get it to stay in. Some scientists have responded to claims that the moon landing was fake by addressing the accusation of weightlessness on the moon due to slow motion. They argued that the dust kicked around by the astronauts, as they moved about, shows that the moon has no atmosphere. On Earth, dust clumps together to form clouds due to the presence of air. However, the moon's lack of air means that dust gets kicked up and falls right back down to the ground. Creating this effect in a studio would require the entire studio to be free of air, which would have been difficult to achieve in 1969. Furthermore, the argument that the well-preserved footprints on the moon are evidence of a fake landing is also contested. Scientists believe that lunar dust is similar to volcanic ash, which preserves shapes better than sand. Also, the absence of an atmosphere on the moon would make it more likely for footprints to be preserved. Finally, the question of who took the cameras. According to scientists, the answer is the spaceship. The primary camera was installed in front of the lunar module, and Neil Armstrong carried a second camera. Between them, it was predicted that almost 20,000 photographs were taken of the mission, but only a few of the photos were worth showing because the cameras had such low quality. Elon Musk, who is probably the most well-educated person on this topic, opened up about his opinion on whether the moon landing was fake or not. As Elon said, he firmly believes that it really happened. And, as Elon explained, with so many questions, he has one important argument that convinces him that this really happened. Yes, we went to the moon, not just once but several times. I think the Russians would have called us out on that one if it wasn't true. Russians didn't like us at the time. They were looking at us through telescopes. They would have said something. It was a big ideological victory for the United States and Western civilization. We're not here to take sides on this video, but one thing was for certain, whether it was a trip to the stars photographed by astronauts or a photo shoot in a studio in Area 51 that fooled the world, it was quite an achievement either way. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to trending updates for more content like this. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.